image from China. At first glance, it shows nothing but an empty, arid desert landscape. But right in the middle, there's something unusual. Some kind of structure. As we zoom in, we can see it looks just like an aircraft carrier. The kind used by militaries around the world as floating air bases, complete with runways, fighter jets, and weapons. But this one isn't in the ocean, but in the middle of the desert.
Dude, they know the water's gonna spawn in. They're predicting that we're gonna get massive ice land are gonna melt, and the water's gonna flood in and lift the boat when they're ready. And there's gonna be a new body of water, and they're already dominating the new ocean that doesn't even exist yet.
Let's zoom out for some context. The satellite image was taken over the Taklamakan Desert in northwestern China. Normally, aircraft carriers operate in the harsh conditions of the open sea. But this region, while far more dry, is no less extreme. From a global perspective, the Taklamakan Desert is a fascinating place. Unlike the surrounding deserts made of rock, this one is made of sand. In fact, it is the second largest sand desert in the world.
Oh, military drills and training.
And seemingly untouched by humans, it stretches out like a giant eye made of sand. A landscape so alien it almost looks like it belongs to another planet.
This is kind of cool.
So why, of all places, would the Chinese military build these structures here? In recent years, China has made increasing headlines for its expanding aircraft carrier project.
China's first domestically built aircraft carrier has entered service.
Dude, that is nice though. Jesus. Chat, that is nice though. Dude, look at this thing.
China has clearly invested in this defense industrial infrastructure to produce these ships.
Just 15 years ago, China didn't have a single aircraft carrier. Today, it has 3.
I wouldn't buy that. I mean,
but if we take a closer look at the shape in the satellite image, something doesn't add up. The design doesn't match that of China's own carriers. Instead, the structure strongly resembles...
You know what, chap? This is like a metal plate, straight up. This is not even a boat. It's just a metal plate to simulate, like, going onto a ship outside, how to disrupt the fucking landing pads and whatnot. This is just like to just test out just in real time.
The American ones. For comparison,
obvious.
Here is the distinctive shape of the Gerald R. Ford class carrier, the latest in the US Navy's fleet. Moving slightly away from this location, we can see a path cutting through the desert.
Right there, what is that?
This appears to be train tracks. And on the other side of the tracks, yet another structure comes into view. This one doesn't look like an aircraft carrier, but it has a striking resemblance to an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, one of the most widely used warships in the US Navy. The similarity is unmistakable, not just because of its general shape, but because of the precise outlines of key features, like the ship's bridge, its funnels.
But why wouldn't they put something above it so that we can't see it from satellite?
And even the vertical launch system used for firing missiles. But it also doesn't look quite like the real ship.
Because they don't get to hide it
like
in
a
the funnel.
flat mock-up, a replica built to mimic the real thing. Examining historical satellite images confirms this suspicion. We can see that in 2020, the site first appeared as a grid of cubes, with several tall structures, possibly masts or antennas, arranged in the shape of the American warship.
50 months happy.
Only later, the full outline of the ship was marked more clearly. The aircraft carrier shape also appears to be just a mock-up. Here, older satellite images show that...
Imagine, this weird tension, like Cold War, where people were building these things, right? And this cost, let's say, I don't know, 30 mil to build, right? And it puts everybody on edge on, like, maybe they're trying to counter our shit. And then they upgrade their own ship, their fleet, they do a budget on their own ship. And they spend like 10 mil on this. And everybody that has those ships spent like fucking 6 bill to like counteract
At
whatever
this
they think is
spot,
going on.
they
Check
had
type
a
1
different
video
layout.
clips.
They're just baiting it.
Three
xQc.
distinct chains,
And they're just baiting funds.
a small and a medium-sized outline of an aircraft carrier,
No?
and the largest version drawn with those tall metal poles. And when we look again at the train tracks running through the middle, we can see just how strange they are. Instead of running straight, the track curves and twists before making a sharp right turn.
This is my last pause, I promise. What if, chat, they go to some side next to a country that's kind of like at war or whatever, and they build these mega cannons or like launch things for nukes, but none of them are actual nuke launchers. They're fucking made out of cement. And they're painted or whatever, and it looks like launchers, and then they rearrange all the defense systems on one side. They put billions of money, other countries' money to defend against missiles, and it was nothing. It was just, they're just baiting out the funds.
This is odd because the surrounding desert is completely flat land, so there are absolutely no natural obstacles that would require these turns. Why wasn't the track built in a straight line? And it gets even stranger when we follow where these tracks lead. Heading north, they come to a stop at a base facility with a large hangar, a few supporting buildings, and a lot of trucks nearby. And when following the tracks the other way, heading south, they simply vanish into the desert as the tracks just end, with no sign of ongoing construction and no clear purpose.
They probably have multiple projects.
To get close to
along the line.
understanding why China is doing all of this, it's helpful to take a look at where the real counterparts of these mock-up ships are located. Because it turns out, US aircraft carriers often aren't as far away from this desert as one might think.
The United States has deployed an aircraft carrier
the
to
South
the
China
South
Sea.
China Sea.
A
Yeah.
Chinese warship almost running into an American destroyer. on
Classic
Saturday.
Taiwan tension.
Tensions in the waters around
Yo,
China have been
yo,
escalating.
this video is just repeating what I'm saying. Yo, I know my shit. Yo, I'm
for
the goat of
years,
knowledge.
leading to
Okay,
frequent confrontation between the US and China. At the center of these disputes are two major conflicts: the South China Sea and Taiwan. In the South China Sea, multiple nations lay claim to various overlapping territories, and China asserts its claim over almost the entire sea, treating the ocean as its own national territory rather than international waters. To reinforce this claim, China has artificially expanded low-lying islands and underwater reefs, covering them with sand and transforming them into military
Dude, that
outposts.
is, yo, you gotta say though, that is a nice base though. Jesus, man. Yo, that
The
is.
US, in response, regularly sends warships through these waters and conducts military exercises. The purpose of these so-called freedom of navigation operations is to challenge China's territorial claims on the sea. But this is just one reason why
Yeah,
US
I saw the
carriers
German thing.
are
I'll show you in a
present
minute.
near China. The second major conflict is the increasingly tense situation between China and Taiwan.
Tensions over time.
Chat, it is under my understanding, chat, that basically the way this worked, hold on, could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. Before, this was China, right? And there's a revolution on near the top left, right? And new China expanded and it pushed China to this island, and old China is actually Taiwan, and all this is new China. Kind of. That's kind of how it is, no?
It's
Yeah,
an
okay.
increasingly
Yeah.
tense situation between China and Taiwan.
Tensions over Taiwan look no closer to a peaceful resolution.
Beijing claims Taiwan as part of its territory.
While Taiwan de facto operates as a fully independent nation with its own government, mainland China views it as a renegade province.
Yeah.
One that, if
So basically, these guys are like, well, listen, when new China is like, yo, when we got all the China, well, we want all the China. So the fact that there's an old China, Taiwan, I think that makes them mad. They don't like that. I think that's the lore behind it. They're like, yo, technically, you guys are still new China, buddy. So
necessary
that's why
could
it's
be
at.
brought under control by force. The threat of a Chinese invasion of Taiwan is very real. and it is something the US opposes, which is why the US Navy maintains a strong presence in the Taiwan Strait. Two serious
semiconductors is
conflicts
a
that have the
parallel
potential
issue
to
for sure.
become much worse. And China is preparing for them by using their desert as a practice ground for a potential future war.
Yeah, but how come Taiwan held so much though? How are they like holding on that much against big country like that? Like what happened? USA came as well, right? They got the no, but even before this was a modernized thing. Is it because we became more towards modern day civilization as this conflict was kind of coming to an end? So it's they can't just invade and just push anymore, or what? It's an island. Yeah, but bruh. Oh, okay, makes sense.
The structures are practice targets built to test whether Chinese missiles can accurately strike US warships. Some experts believe that the many vertical metal poles could be sensors
like a Cold War thing.
used to study the impact of missile strikes on these targets. Another theory is that they are radar reflectors, placed to better simulate the complex metal structure of an actual vessel, so that radar-guided attacks can be tested. And satellite images from
Why not all
a
of it?
different test site confirms China is hitting their targets. But striking a stationary target is one thing. A real warship, of course, wouldn't just sit still. And that is where the train tracks come into play.
They put it on it?
When following the exact path of the tracks, we find yet another aircraft carrier mock-up. This one, perhaps the most elaborate of them all. A three-dimensional model, complete with numerous poles sticking up from its structure. A photograph taken at a Chinese arms convention appears to show a scale model of this very
Oh my
system.
god, dude, yo, I'm saying it. The whole, okay, this is not my main idea, this is my second idea. My second idea is the whole thing is bait. It's like, why would they put the plan's execution and looks in like a place that it could publicly be looked at? It's debate. It's debate. They're
And according
debating.
to these photos, the mock-up was developed by the Chinese arms manufacturer KSIC. Experts believe that the curves in the track are designed so China can simulate a United States carrier taking evasive maneuvers to avoid being hit.
Oh.
They can simulate a carrier taking two sharp turns to avoid being tracked by a missile, or speeding off to get out of the possible impact zone. And once again, satellite imagery suggests that these tests have been successful.
Interesting. Oh, they clapped it.
Now, China isn't the only country building mock-ups of American warships. In
Oh my god, dude. The triple debate. Not only did they show that they're doing and testing it, they're successful. And the usage like, dude, nobody can hit us when we're doing this thing. And they did it, but it's fake. They just blew it up with like self-bomb, like on the thing. And now they're like, no, we need to rework this. And now they're making the rotors faster. They're making the fucking satellites better. They're changing everything. And it's all just smoke.
14. Iran constructed a replica of a US aircraft carrier. This one even seaworthy. They used it for missile tests and then repeatedly bombed it until it sank. An exercise that gained international media attention. Even though propaganda may have played a larger role than actual practice in this specific case, training with mock-up targets is a common military practice, and the US is doing this all the time, building elaborate fake towns in their own deserts, and even training with their own mock-ups. For instance, a replica of China's Chengdu J-20 fighter jet was spotted at a US Air Force base in Georgia. And it's well documented that the US military has operated fully functional Russian Su-27 and MiG-29 fighter jets on American soil for training purposes. But what makes these mock-ups particularly concerning for the US is that China isn't testing ordinary weapons. China is using these tests to demonstrate a system that could fundamentally change military strategy in both conflicts mentioned before.
Chat, what about they send a metal rod, like a big ass lump like this, and it gets into the ship, right? And it sends like massive pulse waves that are like destroying everybody's eardrums and brain. Rum, rum, rum. Yo, mayday.
US intelligence assumes that China possesses a specialized variant of its Dongfeng 21D missile that is specifically designed to target and destroy moving warships like aircraft carriers. This Chinese missile follows a ballistic trajectory, launching high into the atmosphere before plummeting back down at extreme speeds. Then, during the descent phase, a maneuverable re-entry vehicle separates from the missile. And unlike a traditional ballistic warhead, this one can adjust its course in mid-air, allowing it to strike smaller, more precise targets, and even track and hit moving ships.
Yo, what if at the end though, it does like a hollow point shell, like that.
To support this system, China has also expanded its satellite network, improving its ability to track moving targets in real time. Experts believe that defending against this kind of weapon is extremely difficult. Unlike short-range missiles or torpedoes, which require a submarine to get dangerously close to an aircraft carrier, this system enables China to attack US ships from medium range in mainland China. This means conventional US surface-to-air defense systems may not be able to react quickly enough to intercept the missile during the mid-flight phase. And in the final phase, interception becomes even more difficult due to the maneuverable re-entry vehicle, which follows an unpredictable flight path and could potentially execute evasive maneuvers. Conducting these tests in the middle of the desert, fully visible to satellites, could be seen as an intentional message, as it is to the benefit of China if these capabilities are known. That is, because the mere existence of this technology
but what about intergalactical re-entry high-speed missiles? They go around the moon, they get some speed, and then wham! Slingshot at fucking Mach 90,000.
Already shifting the balance of
Dude.
If the US cannot bring their carriers within striking distance of this missile, they are forced to operate them farther away from China, which would put the conflict zones outside the range of the aircraft stationed on the carrier,
I've been cooking.
practically negating the use of such carriers. And so, without ever needing to use the weapon, its presence is strengthening China's ability to project power in these conflict zones.
True.
Taiwan is also preparing for this possibility, and the country has recently announced a large-scale military drill simulating a Chinese invasion of the island, with over 22,000 reservists taking part. So far, this story hasn't been picked up by many major US news outlets, but it's an important development to follow. And to help myself keep track of stories like this, I love using this video's sponsor, Ground News.
Chat, they got all the semiconductor shit, right? So if they go, yo world, yo, your chip in your thing is GG if we don't have the machines. I mean, let's be honest, everybody's fucking Apple's investing $6 trillion in fucking 4 seconds. Fucking Nvidia is already there. They already have this shit funded. Everybody's going on.
The idea behind Ground News is simple, but it completely changed how I stay on top of global events. Ground News doesn't write its own articles. Instead, it collects coverage from a wide range of sources and organizes them by story. At the top of each story, you get a...
I pause a lot because I want to make sure I react hard enough to the video, giving just the amount of reaction needed.
Quick summary of
hit
what's
these
going
thresholds
on.
right now.
You can instantly see how coverage differs between left and right-leaning sources. In this case, Ground News shows that the Taiwan story has been covered by 23 sources. 36% left, 40%.
Anyway.
The missile knows where it is at all times. It knows this because it knows where it isn't. By subtracting where it is from where it isn't, or where it isn't from where it is, whichever is greater, it obtains a difference or deviation. The guidance subsystem uses deviations to generate corrective commands to drive the missile from a position where it is to a position where it isn't, and arriving at a position where it wasn't, it now is. Consequently, the position where it is now the position that it wasn't, and it follows that the position that it was is now the position that it isn't. In the event that the position that it is in is not the position that it wasn't, the system has acquired a variation. The variation being the difference between where the missile is and where it wasn't.
Oh, they just do it in reverse then. If the one that's standard doesn't work, they just do it in reverse, and they might get a better answer if they're past like the middle threshold. That makes sense.